From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of OddPods Media. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 249 of From the Middle. We're three middle class guys living in the middle America and blah, 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 middle class, whatever. Dudes. This week, on this episode, we're talking a lot about manly stuff, as it turns out. We've got sheds. We're talking about mowing lawns and other spring things. We're talking about male pattern baldness this week, friends. We're talking about family vacations. We share a little bit of today I learned factoids. And on the back end, we talk about, what is going on in the world of sports right now. And maybe no football isn't so bad. And then a lot of streaming, including Wrestlemania 40.
Oh, for the love.
Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved. From the Middle after dark over here.
What you doing over there, Dylan?
I've got my lovely hair lumps I'm just fixing. I like to feel my best. I like to look at my best when
I feel like you are literally and figuratively rubbing it in because you're talking to a couple of guys who don't have the blessing of having that problem.
Yeah. Sometimes I think there's just so much of it. What am I going to do?
Screw you and the horse you rode in on, man.
Yeah, dude. I feel like
that's illegal in Ohio. I just want you to know.
So Corey had mentioned a long time ago, a deep cut of how he got to experience like seeing the back of his head at one of his events. And the subconscious feeling of knowing that like every time I turn around to draw on the wall, there's a room full of people who are staring at the back of my head.
Mm-hmm.
And like I also have the feeling like I get my hair cut real short now. So Ray was with me the time that I told him, you know what, I'm not fooling anybody anymore. What should we do? And we ended up just buzzing it all down. And I don't shave it. I go down to a 1.5 guard on top, and then I fade it, and then I do a skin fade from there. But even with that haircut, I see myself sometimes if I'm at the front door and we have the Ring video cameras and not the doorbell camera. So we've got like an actual camera stuck up on a post looking down. And I see myself in that one from time to time. And I see like the male pattern baldness. Like there's still hair. Like if you feel it, there's hair there. But on camera, you don't see that there's hair there on the top middle part of my head. It looks like it is male pattern baldness. It's the skullet look if I were to let it grow out.
It's the same. I have the same issue. It's just really light. It's weird. It feels like there's hair, but same thing. If I catch it on camera, I can tell that there's.
Really?
Yeah, it's true.
Turn around.
Anyways, welcome back.
Well, I mean, Kendall, you could like yours is so light, right? Like mine was black. So it was like black and then a target.
Yeah.
So it was like there's no denying. Yeah.
I'm just thankful that I'm taller than most of the people I'm ever around. So
exactly. Well, welcome back, Kendall. We missed you last week.
Hey, you guys did a wonderful job last week.
Thank you for still helping us on the leveling and editing and posting side. We really appreciate that in the midst of your vacation. That was very kind of you. Did you have fun? What'd you guys do?
Oh, dude, it was so good. It was so good. We're having a blast these last couple of years taking the kids places. We had 3 in diapers at the same time and 3 in cribs at the same time. And so we had decided at that point in our life, after having one experience where we went to a family reunion thing, spent one night in a hotel with 3 babies. And after that trip, we said, we're never doing this again. So we just hunkered down at home for years. And now we're getting out. and taking the kids places, and it's fun.
Yeah.
And this is one of those vacations where, like, man, if we could have swung doing another week,
Yeah.
we totally would have, because it
So
was
so here's
great.
all we know. You have to fill us in. We told the listeners last week that we got a text from you where your kids were in the pool.
Okay.
Like it looked like it was like a not a rooftop pool, but like a open above it pool.
Yeah.
And you were looking out over the outfield of a minor league baseball game. And then later in that night, fireworks went off. And so that's all we know.
I think I told you guys, I also told Amy at the time, like, this is like Corey kind of travel luck right here. So we had decided that we were going to half the trip on the way there. So it's Myrtle Beach from Columbus area, Ohio, is 8.5, 9 hour drive. And so we spent the night in Greensboro on the way there. And we knew that the hotel that we were staying in on points, so we didn't pay for the room, was downtown, and we knew that it was across from the minor league baseball team. And we also knew from looking at the schedule, my wife is the one who orchestrated the fact that she looked up and found out that they were playing a home game on that night. And so she had like typed in a request, can we get a room that overlooks the baseball field? Not knowing that it was going to be what it ended up being. But the main reason for that was because she saw, when she looked up to see that they were having a game, that it was going to be a fireworks night there. So it'd be fun to see the fireworks with the kids. But man, like one floor below our room was the pool deck, which the pool deck is like, it's just across the street from the outfield, and there's no stands in between you and the field. And it was cold, but the kids were still swimming in this really cold water. And I even tried. So in the middle of, it's one of those situations where like you literally feel like a fish in a tank, because you have this stadium of people and you're in the outfield on a pool deck. And so at one point I was like, well, time to give the people what they paid for, and took my shirt off. And gave them a little show, and watched baseball from the pool deck for a while until we all got too cold, and then went up to the room and watched it from our room window. And so we're watching the game, and we figure out which team is, we decided we were going to root for Greensboro. They were down by 3. No, they were down 5 in the 8th inning. They hit a 3-run homer in the 8th inning. And now they're down by 2. And then in the bottom of the 9th inning, we watched a 3-run home run walk-off win, followed by freaking fireworks. And so we watched the win. We're going crazy in our hotel room watching this. We go down to the pool air deck again and like just stand on the pool deck and watch the fireworks. Dude, we were not expecting it to be what it was.
That's amazing.
And that was the kickoff to our vacation.
And you haven't even started vacation yet. Yeah,
and we hadn't even started vacation.
You're now their biggest fans, and you're like, we gotta go walk over and go get some merch.
I should have. See, now I have a regret, Corey. Thank you for that.
Oh, sorry.
No, I don't know if I'm more surprised that you thought our type of dad bods would be foreign there in North Carolina. But then all of a sudden you show off your dad bod and they get like 7 runs. So I don't know.
Well, Dylan,
all it took was me taking off my shirt, and they're like, you know what?
Now
we're inspired.
Now we're ready to fight and win.
I want to be more like that guy.
Yeah.
Greensboro does have tall, thick guys, but do they have male pattern baldness?
See.
That's what did it. So the rest of vacation
was great. We were with my sister and her husband and their family with 6 children. And just to give people some perspective, they have 6 kids. Our oldest kid is 9 years old. He's older than all of them.
Oh, okay.
So that was that situation. I have never done a vacation with another family before. And so I was a little bit like, because I've heard good stories, but I've heard a lot of horror stories about how people just don't mesh or whatever. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I don't want to spend every waking moment with the other family. Like I want us to be able to make our own core memories um, and do some things. Also, I know some things about their kids and their ages, and they're a little different. And so, like, I hope that like it's okay that we want to like go and do bigger kid things and stuff. And it was totally okay. Like we met at the pool every morning that we were there, and kind of like talked about. Generally speaking, each day when we met at the pool, we were at the pool slash beach for a long time in the morning, and then we would go to our respective rooms for lunch, and then we would do some stuff. Maybe we'd meet up at a park or something somewhere along the way, and then we would do dinner together. And that was
Nice.
that was such a beautiful pace.
Perfect.
I really enjoyed it. I enjoy their kids a lot. They're fun kids. They're all at fun ages, and a couple of them even like me. And so that's all good. But man, the weather was good. Being on the beach was good. The water was super cold, which was fine, but played baseball with my boys on the beach. Like that was cool. And um we rode like the big Myrtle Beach sky wheel thing. Like we did that. Like that was cool. But one of the things that I want to highlight that excuse me, that our family has learned is that the stupid, kitschy, like cheesy things that are available to tourists on vacations tend to be some of the most fun things for us, for our family. So when we went to Mackinac last year, we went to that like paranormal museum
Yeah,
thing
the
with like
Bigfoot
the Yeti
place.
stuff. And yeah, we walked through a wormhole and totally laying it thick on like actual conspiracy theory stuff, like such as Yeti's real and things. Yep. Dylan's got his little souvenir that I brought back.
Mine's in the car on the dashboard.
Nice. And we loved that. And so we went to medieval times.
Yes.
At
Come
Myrtle
on.
Beach.
I've been to that medieval times. That place is awesome.
Dude. I didn't know exactly what to expect. It was the perfect amount of cheesy, and it was legitimately the best food that we had on vacation. I wasn't expecting the food to be good.
Whole turkey leg, baby.
It was good stuff. It was half chicken. Each person got a half chicken.
Let's go.
And corn on the cob, some tomato basil soup. Like the chicken was wonderful. And we were sitting front row.
What color was your night? What color?
Black and white night. And who won the day? And I knew like when we got there, once we were seated, the first 15 minutes or so before things really started getting going, were obnoxious. Like there was a school, I think, that was there, and these kids were horribly loud and would not stop chanting and yelling and screaming. They were having fun. It was fine, but we were sitting right in front of them, and it was like almost the entire black and white section. So it was loud and, bad for the ears loud. Couldn't talk to each other or anything. But what's going on in my head is like, there's no way that with this crowd on the black and white side, that they don't put this together so that the black and white knight becomes the hero at the end. And that's exactly what happened. And so like we're cheering for the black and white knight. He's the hero at the end of the whole thing, of the story. And man, it was so good. It was so good.
That's such a fun place. Dylan, do you remember how old we were when we went?
Yeah,
like roughly.
I don't remember. I mean, I would guess probably both 10 and under. I mean,
yeah, I was going to say 10 and 8, 9 and 7, like 9 and 7. So this was at the height of Dylan's love of medieval times and collecting castle and knight play sets. And my mom and I painted Dylan's room in our childhood home to look like the inside of a castle with big bricks with it. Some of them were like seeping, and like it was really, really cool. So I remember him walking into that first room, and there's like weaponry hanging on the walls and different things, and him just like,
Yeah.
what?
Dude, you could buy real swords and daggers at the gift shop.
Heck
like,
yeah.
It's an awesome place. Expensive,
But
an
and
awesome place.
And since we talked a lot about Connor Tomlinson last week, I have to mention that he recently went. I mean, that's like, as a guy who collects sword, it's like perfect for him. Anyway, over to you, Dylan.
Yeah.
If you can make it, I mean, it's unforgettable for anybody, even if you think it's a little cheesy as an adult, but especially as a kid. I mean, there's nothing to compare it to. We don't have anything. The rodeo, maybe people go to the rodeo, but that's not the same. There's like falconry and jousting, and maybe if you go to a Renaissance fair, you have one, I guess. But that's a very fun experience. I'm glad you guys got to do that. I forgot there was one down there. I think it's like Chicago, New York, Myrtle Beach. Like,
yeah, there's like a dozen of them.
You've got to go pretty far to find one for us.
Yeah, it was cool. Oh, and when they're introducing the knights at the very beginning, each of the knights comes out carrying a long stemmed, I think it's a carnation. And he came out in the black and white knight. We were in the front row. Lydia's a cute little girl. And she's the one who he threw it to.
Ah,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so fun. I'm glad you had a good time, man. Congrats on the positive experience with the family vacation. Love that you guys do the touristy stuff. That's special time.
When go-karts. I had never driven a go-kart before.
What?
Isaac really wanted to do go-karts, and so we did go-karts. And he is just tall enough to get his own, so he got to drive his own go-kart. And then I was paired up with Joel. and Amy was paired up with Lydia, and it was just the three vehicles on the track, and we did
that's so fun.
We did a 4-story go-kart track.
Whoa, that's epic.
Yeah,
good for you guys. So glad that the Aylalas had a good vacation, but it's good to have you back. We missed you, like I said, and excited to get into things. Dylan, what's going on in your world? Excited to hear from you, brother.
Oh, it's getting warmer. That means manual labor. So, woe is me this time of year. Yeah. I saw that you just mowed for the first time recently. Were you like letting your kids play Jumanji in the yard, or was that like a thing where you're going for a theme, like a jungle theme this far into the year?
I don't have the healthiest grass. I've got a lot of trees. Your property, your cute little corner lot, I think has some modest, some smaller trees. Ours has a lot of very old trees, which means there's a lot of shade, which means the grass isn't really that lush. It's patchy. There are a couple spots where it's like really, really nice, thick green, but I didn't really have to mow yet. And I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks. And so I was just kind of waiting until it was further into spring to get that first mow in. But I was also preparing for something.
Yeah. Which?
You guys, there's about to be a sea change at the Hubble home. I am so excited. It's amazing how, as suburban dads in the middle of our lives, this is the most from the middle story I've perhaps ever told. We're getting a shed.
Good for you.
My garage for the last, let's call it 6 years. You know those sliding tile puzzles where you have to move like 7 things to get that one piece free. So that can. My garage has been that for the last 6 years. We moved in 9 years ago. It starts to fill up. Dylan and I when we would go visit our grandma and grandpa, she had a little sliding tile puzzle. It was a blue background with silver lettering, and it was John 3:16. And I thought of that little sliding tile puzzle every time I needed to get something out of the garage. I will also ashamedly admit that I took my Christmas lights down today. It is tax day, listener. Let the record show it is April 15th, and I took my Christmas lights down. In part because it's such a pain to get the extension ladders out.
Sure.
And I've been on the road. So Sherry had a light work day today, and as did I. And so I say, babe, this is the last time that I have to knock 17 things down in the process of getting one of the 3 ladders out to take the Christmas lights down. They show up tomorrow morning. They're going to install it in a day. It's 12 feet by 16 feet with a loft.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's going to cover up all those annoying houses. If you've listened for a while, you know they put these really annoying houses 6 feet above my ground level is where the ground zero is for what we were told was single-story homes, and they're much taller than that. Anyway, of those houses that now back up to our property, there's one that has like a really, really good view of our backyard and pool. The shed will cover that up. So I'm so excited to see how little I can have in my actual garage and how much I can put in the shed. I'm already getting tips on, hey, if you don't want to run power out to it, a lot of people with sheds do solar panels and then power the lights of the shed with the solar panels, because that's really all you need is a handful of lights out there.
Yeah.
You guys,
also
for a guy in the middle chapters of life with way too much kid crap and stuff in his garage, this is going to be a game changer.
Also, there are a lot of very inexpensive, like ultra bright LEDs that you just pop a few batteries in, and they have like a sticky thing that you can like mount them in a closet or put them in a shed, and they'll run for like months before you need to change batteries. So you could also put a couple of those like battery LED. They make them for industrial size spaces or large spaces like garages and basements. Maybe get some of those and just stick them up in the shed.
Do you know how much fun it's going to be once they leave and I can start hauling stuff back there and like putting shelves up? And it's to see how clean I can get my goal is to see if I can get 2 cars in the garage again.
Dude, that kind of process is the kind of process that I live for when it comes to reorganizing the house.
I say this with no judgment, at least not judgment I'm willing to share on here. When I drive around, when Bree and I are driving around and you see like 2 cars outside and the garage open and places that are just maxed, like to the brim in the garage, I just go, I don't understand. What's happening? Like, did you just move? Are you going to do a garage sale? Is it like that all the time? Do you need help? Do you need like a order? Do you need one of those like bins, like the big bins that they bring out for your yard or street, and you just throw stuff in it? Because I'm like, that's my first priority would in us getting a home was I need to park inside. I'm so tired of getting wet. I'm so tired of shoveling and scraping snow.
Groceries imploding.
If there's not room for cars, it's not a house we're going to own. We got to find a different one. So people have legit reasons that happens. I'm not saying there's not periods of life, but I just want to help them. I want to help whoever's not in a position. Like, let's organize. Let's have a garage sale and get you your garage back.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm totally with you there. And having our cars in our garage is the priority for me too. And it has been the Tetris game for us. But I'm also a serial like declutterer. So like I when I clean out the garage, like the trash guy hates me the following week. But there's the other garages in the neighborhood that open up and you wonder the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Like do you not own a rake? Like there's nothing in your garage.
Yes, I see that. And it's literally the 2 vehicles and maybe a Craftsman, a rolling Craftsman tool chest. And you're like, where's all your stuff? How do you get yard work done?
Yeah.
I have to admit, that's one of our neighbors. He will take everything out of his garage. So to some people, that sounds like a nightmare. Takes him maybe 25 minutes to pull about 20 some items out of his garage and line it up along the edge of his driveway. And then he takes his leaf blower a couple times a year, blows out the little bit of dust and dirt, and then puts like those 20 things back in his garage. Now he has a shed, and so there might be a lot of stuff in his shed that I don't know about. But there's literally like 20, and 3 of those are like garbage cans. Like he hauls out 3 garbage cans that he has for different things. And I now in his position, I'm like, I would almost want to go like patch and finish and sand and paint the walls because that garage is now so clean. Let's make it look like a finished space.
I've even thought about refinishing the floor. They have those epoxies that you can put over concrete to either like a subtle texture so that you don't slip, or like some speck in the paint. And I was like, that'd be fun. Not like black and white checker like I have like show cars, but just like a nice refinished surface. But yeah, so listeners, middlers, we would love to hear from you. You don't have to take pictures. You can if you want. But tell us, what's your garage situation like? Are you a pack rat? Do you have way too much Little Tykes stuff in your garage? Are you in that season of life? Little Tyke stuff does seem to be large.
I think it would be a really fun middle-aged man thing to compile a picture of each other's garages. Like everybody just send in a picture of your garage and let us talk about
Maybe
it.
guess who? Guess whose garage? Whose
Guess
garage?
whose garage?
Yeah.
So I will admit, I keep like cutoffs of boards, or like anytime I see a flat surface, even if it's that particle board from like Piece Together Furniture, I'm always like, oh, I could paint on that, or I could do a piece of art on that and then sell it, or I could use that for a cutting surface, or I do keep a lot of things. But I will also say, in fairness and in my own defense, I have cleaned and recleaned and decluttered and decluttered and decluttered. I've purchased every type of hang from the ceiling, organization, shelf, side shelves. I've got one whole wall. This was cool. When we moved in, one whole wall was pegboard.
Oh, fun.
So hand tools and stuff was never a problem, but it's still like 3 bikes, a motorcycle, 1 car, a refrigerator with all my drinks in it, and it was still at the point where it was so bad. Now I say all that, and the shed guy came over Sunday to check out the space where I had spray painted where I want him to put the shed. And he's like, you said your garage was bad. And I was like, thank you so much. It's bad for me.
I don't know how much I needed to hear that this year.
He's like, dude, I've seen some garages. And I was like, I'm sure. But anyway, so I cannot wait. I'm already thinking about shelving systems and what's the best way to get the most out of the space. But a 12 by 16 footprint should last us a while. What's cool is it's out by the pool, so I don't have to haul all the pool stuff in and haul it above the garage now.
Yeah.
You just throw it in there. We even have the solar cover that we roll up and hang on these big hooks. I can put those hooks on the backside that those annoying people with those annoying houses have to look at.
You let them look at it. Yeah. And your yard.
In my little shed, I slid a couple thin sheets of board up above between the beams so I could like put extra rods and pipes and stuff up above, so if they rolled around it wouldn't matter. You do that and slide stuff up above. It's gonna be so good.
So excited. Anyway, a shed is really not a big deal, but to me,
yes, it is.
It's a huge deal. I'm so excited. Anyway, that's what's up in my world.
To finish answering your question, off of our front walkway up to our house, there is a little flower bed area with stacked stone. And then that goes down a tier to another level of mulch and stacked stone. Well, sometimes deer like to walk through our yard and knock those over. And usually it's like 1 brick or 1 stone or something. Well, 2 times within days, our front flower thing, they knocked like 2 big cylinder blocks over with a ton of mulch out into the grass. And then a whole wall of probably 30 or 40 stones knocked over from one area down into the other. I think it must have started to fall and then struggled or something. Or somebody took like a nosedive into the brick wall and is dead, because I don't know what else is that big to have knocked over that many stones. So a week ago, I thought, after I'm done mowing, I'll just go fix that stone wall. It'll take me half an hour. Terrible idea. After several hours of working outside, it turns out I was tired. So today, after work, I'm like, I'm gonna run outside real quick, and forgot how much hotter it was this week than last week. And that was like a 30-minute, that was the closest thing I've ever done to what's the really horrible exercise routine gym things where they throw rocks and balls and jump up and down and what
CrossFit?
Yeah, CrossFit.
Yeah. So that's like the closest I ever got to I forgot that not only is shoveling lots of dirt and rocks to fill back in gaps, that's work. But then also every stone feels like it's 20, 30, 40 pounds that you're trying to lift to if they're not, but it feels like it when it's hot and it's super humid. So that's what I did today. Much to the chagrin of the deer that live nearby, I rebuilt my wall. So I hope they don't cross it again, because I'll be tanked.
You know what you should do?
Yeah.
Every night before you go to bed, your evening pee should be outside and just pee all over your yard.
It's a great idea. Just right around those areas. Do you think that'll scare them away?
Well,
yeah.
Do that after what I was going to suggest, which is you've got a camera on the opposite side of your house for your garage. Yeah. Put a camera on the deer activity side. Don't pee facing the camera. Just do that. I would like to see what's going on with those crazy critters.
It's remarkably close to if I open my front door with the crossbow arrow in a slit at the front door, that I could probably just,
if you or someone you know,
if me or somebody I knew was so inclined to share the meat with me after, then
of course, you just tell me what you want.
Yeah.
I have to mention this.
You mean to pee all over your yard with you? Is that what you? Never mind.
Sword fights.
Double down if that helps.
Is this back to sword fights? Are we back to medieval times?
We can pee and shoot crossbows. I don't care.
Kendall, I'm not sure if you heard, but last week we talked about the acronym online on Reddit forums, TIL. Today I learned interesting factoids that you learned that you feel like you already should have known. And we did hear in our DMs from one of our very loyal middlers, and I wanted to share with you. So thank you so much I'm going to make sure I get it right, because a few people reached out. Keegan shared, okay, one of my big pet peeves when pouring a liquid out of a dish, usually this is creamer into coffee. You're trying to pour slow, and if you're watching on YouTube, I'm
showing us what pouring looks like.
Showing us what pouring looks like. It always drizzles down the side of the cup instead of going out. You hold a spoon with the spoon facing that way.
Yeah.
And it catches the spoon.
And it follows the spoon.
And it follows the spoon down.
Wow.
Into your and so Keegan said things I learned when I was today years old, and it's Sydney Raz R-A-Z on Instagram demonstrates how to do this. And it blew my mind, because I'm always like, my answer is always pour faster, or just wait until you're at a coffee shop with one that has the little notch in it so that it doesn't do the blooping thing down the side. Just use a bloody spoon, not a bloody spoon. That would be gross. You want to use a clean spoon. Game changer. Did you think, Dylan, of any Today I Learns, or Kendall, did it make you think of any Today I Learns when you were listening last week?
I don't have anything off the top of my head at the moment.
Okay.
I forgot that was the thing we talked about. So
okay, moving on. This feels like a great spot to stop and hear from some of our friends in Odd Pods Media. Thanks, Keegan. We love you.
Smash your stuff.
If you like fun, then you're going to love the Beard Owl podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about two of the greatest things in the world, beer and Weird Al. And frankly, we talk more about Weird Al than anything because he's the gift that keeps on giving. So join us as we talk through Weird Al's career, what he means to us, and we have some very special guests on to discuss the magic that is Alfred Matthew Yankovic. Weird Al, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
And we're back. So before we hopped on to record tonight, my wife was walking by my office door and I said, babe, do you have anything you want to share with our listeners? She never listens. She doesn't know what we talk about. I usually just tell her now when we have a really exciting guest on, that's usually as much as we talk about the podcast. And she's thought for a minute and she goes, well, other than it's like the worst time of year for sports. And I said, first of all, what do you mean? Like America's pastime, first of all. Second of all, Formula One just really got started. We're in round 4 or 5.
Hockey playoffs, basketball playoffs.
USL.
So she did bring up the NBA play in. And I said, what's a play in? And she goes, well, it's like 8 and 9, and then 9 and 10 play each other. And then the winner of those 2 games plays each other. And then they play into the playoffs. I go, so like a wild card. And she's like, yeah. And I said, are you turned on that I was able to like compare it to like a wild card? Because it's kind of the same. So then we had that conversation. And then she goes, I really wish I would have had a more clever answer for your question of what I would want to tell your listeners. I guess be sure to properly season your cast iron skillets. And I was like, hey, that's a great thing to remember. So if you haven't properly seasoned your cast iron skillet, this is your reminder to go do that. Make sure it's completely dry and then put a little oil in there and rub her down.
If we're doing like helpful tips this time of year, go get your propane tank filled. For the grillers and the folks that use that, you don't want to wait until the first time you need it to have to go fill it.
Exactly.
So do you agree? I mean, you had strong reaction to there's nothing good on sports wise. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's just a load of phooey, but I understand why she would think that, but that's just not true.
Well, I think what Sherry probably means by that is that there's no college football.
No college football or college basketball.
Because even in the NFL, she does like the NBA
playoffs.
But I mean, we got the NFL draft coming up, so that's
doesn't care about hockey, doesn't care about MLB, definitely doesn't care about F1.
Yeah.
I mean, in college football news, Ohio State just had the first nationally televised spring game ever. It had never been nationally televised. And there's going to be a spring portal. So a bunch of these kids are going to be bouncing around like ping pong balls at different schools. The college basketball portal has already opened and people are like bouncing all over with Coach Calipari leaving and Ohio State having a new coach. And there's tons of off-season news for her favorite sports too. So I'm constantly playing around with this idea, and I posted about it on our socials of like, if the ACC gets rated by the SEC and Big Ten like they're supposed to, would it be cool for them to pick up a few more teams and rename as the All Coast Conference? And then they could have 4 pods, the Great Lakes pod, the Atlantic pod, the Gulf pod, and the Pacific pod. And they could even reuse the Pac-12 logo, but make 4 different versions for the 4 different pods. And I even propose which teams could go in the 4 pods on social media. So there's so much off-season news you could be talking about. That's interesting. And NFL is on, and soccer's on.
When a nerd is also into sports.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And speaking of a nerd being into sports, congratulations to Wrexham for just getting promoted again. They'll be in League One next year. I can't wait to see it all unfold. And welcome to Wrexham.
Yeah.
Well, while we're on random and seasonal tips, can I just say, as one who rides a motorcycle, if you live in a neighborhood where motorcycles sometimes drive by, please blow your grass clippings back into your yard when you're done and not leave them on the roadway. That could be hazardous to motorcycles going by, and we really appreciate it.
That could create a slippy situation.
It could a slippy situation, and we like traction when we're on motorcycles. Anyway,
but if you want to keep like the motorcycle gangs down to a minimum,
that's true. Leave all your grass clippings on the road.
And gun crime in Columbus, Ohio has gone down remarkably.
So I've had some time on airplanes and I've watched a few things, but I want to give you guys the floor first if there's anything interesting that you've been streaming. And if Dylan, I also am curious, do we have any updates on EA College Football 25?
You know, there's a lot, it's a lot of little stuff right now. Like there's just little teeny tiny juicy little bits of news are coming out, but nothing major. The rumor is as of this moment that we're gonna get a May full trailer, mid-May full trailer, and a mid-July release date. So I'm planning my vacation week now in for July. I don't know what people find interesting. I find literally every bit of actual information about the game interesting. Here's an example.
Assume it's less than that.
Here's just one little example of what I think is interesting that other people won't. All the bowl games will be in the game, except the games that are played at stadiums that are also baseball fields because of licensing issues.
Interesting. Yeah.
So like they can't do I think the Pinstripe Bowl is at
Yankee Stadium. Yeah.
So they'll have the Pinstripe Bowl. It'll be at a stadium, but it won't be Yankee Stadium because of license. And that's the kind of stuff you go, makes sense. Get it. All the awards have opted out of the game except the Heisman Award, which is really the only one you need anyways. All the other ones can be like Best Quarterback Award, Best Wide Receiver Award, and no one cares if they're called like the Maxwell or the whatever award.
Like a Doak Welker or something like that.
Doak Walker, yeah. Walker. So like that's the kind of stuff that I think is interesting as they continue to talk about it. They've talked a lot about there's been a lot of intrigue around like nothing on customizing teams yet. They do think there's going to be a lot of like historical jersey, like a lot of alternate jerseys and maybe some historical jerseys, which could be fun for the really hardcore fans. So that's a few things that are like, it's technically news, but like you've got to really like be into the game to kind of care about some of those details. So I'll keep it short and sweet, but very excited. If we get a July release date, that means take a week off in July and enjoy the game at length. And in the meantime, I just keep playing with my PlayStation Portal to be prepared for the game so I can play it on TV or mobile. And so that's been a bunch of fun anyways.
Good stuff, man. Are you streaming anything?
Couple things for the families. Now here is something for everybody, including the adults. If you haven't seen Paddington 1 and 2, do yourselves a favor and go watch Paddington 1 and 2 wherever you are. If you like movies and you rewatch movies, just buy them. Doesn't matter if they're $20 or $30 because you're going to watch them again. Very good. Even my daughter was like, this is kind of like Lyle Lyle Crocodile, but I like Paddington better. Yes, it's kind of like that in the premise, but a lot better and very sweet movies. So Paddington 1 and 2 we've watched recently. I'm in the middle of the Bad Batch season 3, which is the final season. That's Star Wars, the Bad Batch. That's going to be like a super deep cut for most people. So I'll just sort of leave it as they're doing some really interesting stuff. The season is pretty dark, not really for kids. This is like adults who are fan of the Clone Wars animated series 15 years ago that are now watching this. And they're definitely building up some stuff to like the newest trilogy with like cloning, and so you can kind of see how they're building in explanations for some of the things that maybe people didn't like in the newest trilogy, but really good. Like for it being an animated series, the cinematography and some of the writing and stuff was really, really good. So there's kind of my deep cut for any Star Wars fans.
All right. Kendall, did you guys watch anything or stream anything or read anything on vacation?
Wrestlemania 40.
Let's go. I said last week that I've been ready for you to talk about this. How was it?
I don't know if it's just because it's the only WrestleMania that I've watched,
Could be.
but I've heard other people say the best WrestleMania ever,
Nice.
and I would believe it. I would absolutely believe it. I mean, it was there. Part of me, there was earlier stages of my life. I went from just waiting for the next regular weekly episode afterward to kind of piece together what happened at WrestleMania and being excited for those episodes so I could find out, to later like going on YouTube and finding what I could find, um which see bits and pieces here and there, and also reading about it. um to today, I have now watched the lead up to and the first WrestleMania of my life. And it's the first of the Triple H era WrestleMania because he's officially running everything now. And I tell you what, man, the if you're not into wrestling, I think that there are parts of WrestleMania that you would still enjoy because some they bring in some recognizable stuff from the rest of the world. So like Snoop Dogg is sitting third chair at the announcer's table for a couple of rounds and gets involved in that sort of thing. There's musical guests and stuff. Um and it's just overall really entertaining. My favorite wrestler is Becky Lynch, the man, and she was the challenger for the women's title. She lost, but that was okay. Uh, I think that the only thing I really, I mean, I could. This is one of those kind of like Dylan. Like I could go on forever talking about something that three people care about. Um, so I'm just gonna hit the big one, which was the Universal Championship. It was the closing card on the second day of WrestleMania, and you have Cody Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes' son, going up against Roman Reigns, who has held that title forever. And Cody Rhodes failed to win that title at WrestleMania last year. And there's this whole thing that has happened with The Rock now getting involved a couple months ago, where The Rock came in and he was going to challenge Roman Reigns to be the head of the table of what they call the Bloodline, which is a heel group, a bad guy group of wrestlers, of which Roman Reigns is the head of. And but when he came in to say I'm going to be fighting Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes came in and said, "Wait a minute, I won the Royal Rumble. It's my call, not yours. I don't care if you are The Rock." And so that started this whole thing. And so now The Rock, who is still technically related to Roman Reigns and the rest of the bloodline, then flipped. And now he became part of the bloodline, The Rock did, and against Cody. And rumor has it, and there's a docuseries coming out that I think will confirm this, that this is not exactly what they were planning. But the day after that event had happened, they had a Monday Night Raw, and at Monday Night Raw, or was it Smack? I don't remember how the timeline goes, but the next weekly televised event, The Rock was out there talking, and the Rocky sucks chant started happening, followed by a "We want Cody" chant. And it seems as though the WWE universe was not expecting it to go that way. But they went with it. And so you ended up with The Rock is now officially heel, complete heel. Cody Rhodes fought Roman Reigns in an epic battle under bloodline rules, which basically means anything goes and the bloodline's allowed to cheat. And you had the moment where Cody's about to win, and then one of the members of the bloodline, Jimmy Uso, jumps out and interferes with the match. Completely legal. And then while he's doing that, Jay Uso, who is Jimmy's twin brother, who had defected from the bloodline previously, came in and interfered with Jimmy. And so now the two of them are fighting, and they get speared over the edge of a walkway on into a table. And so now, and then after that happens, Cody is about to win again when another bloodline member, Solo Sikoa, comes out and interferes. John freaking Cena comes out and takes care of Solo Sikoa.
What?
And then The Rock comes out.
Let's go. There were people were the pops like
every 10 minutes it got better. And this is what people were saying, like, you expect a cameo at WrestleMania. You don't expect 9 of them.
Oh my God.
The Rock comes out and rock bottoms John Cena in the middle of the ring. Lights go out, gong hits. Taker comes out. Lights come back on. Undertaker standing right behind The Rock. Choke slams The Rock.
Come on. How did I not know this?
Dude. Lights go out again. The Rock and Undertaker, everyone else is gone. Except for a steel chair. Oh, Seth Rollins was in there too at some point. I didn't mention him. A steel chair, a belt that The Rock had left behind, Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. And Cody Rhodes then takes care of business and becomes the new champion.
Mark Calloway coming out of retirement, my man.
I just have to say, do you know the part in Elf when Buddy goes on the date with Jovi and he comes back from the date with Jovi and he throws his hat as he's spinning and he's like, I'm in love, and I don't care who knows it. That was your vibe the whole time. Like that whole story from front to end.
Totally.
Yeah, I like the finger that we got. Like, and then that's so awesome.
Dude.
I need to watch it.
I loved it. It's on Peacock.
What you're saying and WrestleMania this year feeling more popular feels true to me because first of all, we had a few friends that went. And I can't wait to message them and say, hey, what was your experience like? But also it feels like people that aren't wrestling fans were talking about WrestleMania. And that's why, or it was getting hype from people who don't normally weigh in on sports entertainment and pro wrestling. And so for that reason, I was like, it's now transcending WWE fans. And it's like people that it's made its way into pop culture, water cooler conversation.
Because it used to be there.
Yeah, it used to be there, and it wasn't.
Everybody knows who Hulk Hogan is,
for sure.
Everybody probably knows who the Undertaker is. But yeah,
for that reason, it feels like it's kind of coming back, and maybe under Triple H, and you know he'll take it in not a different direction, but you know he'll bring a different element to it. That's awesome. I got to go watch it. A few things I watched real quick. I'm also streaming a few things. I'm still on my Teddy Swims music thing. I can't get enough of him and the guys that sound like him. Chris Stapleton's album from last year, Higher. Still some Marcus King stuff. He's touring right now. My middle daughter Chloe kind of got me hooked on Benson Boone. He's got a new album that just dropped, like 7 or 8 good songs on this record. So I'm listening to some Benson Boone. But in terms of movies, I'm a Wes Anderson fan. I don't know if you guys know his movies. He's got that very eccentric, artsy style and different way of telling stories. So 96 was his first, Bottle Rocket. That's a deep cut. If you haven't watched, go watch Bottle Rocket. That's great. Owen Wilson and Luke Wilson. And then Rushmore, Royal Tenenbaums, Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, The Darjeeling Limited, Fantastic Mr. Fox, Moonrise Kingdoms, The Grand Budapest Hotel, Isle of Dogs, French Dispatch, and then Asteroid City. I watched Asteroid City on the plane. I had to Google the phrase Asteroid City, what did I just watch? Because Wes Anderson out Wes Anderson with this. It's so meta. It's like visually stunning. I mean, every frame feels like a piece of art. The color, the compositions, they're so beautiful and wonderful and weird. Some of the acting, stellar. But then the story, I'm going to butcher this because I had to Google what I watched. So I don't even know how to explain it. But it's like a story within a story within a story within a story. And you lose track of which layer you're in. And then at one point, one character says to another something like, it's not making any sense. I'm not sure what this is all about. And the person says, just follow the story, or just watch what you're watching, basically, and don't try to figure out. And so that felt like a message to the audience. Like, you're just supposed to take these little micro scenes for what they are and quit trying to stitch it to the broader narrative, because there's no way to keep track. I tried and I was totally lost. But at the same time, I enjoyed watching it. And at the same time, I could appreciate that it was so beautiful and wonderful and weird. And if you know Wes Anderson movies too, the other thing is he has these huge A-list actors, and they deliver lines very deadpan, looking straight at the other character, or sometimes even the camera. And so that part feels a little weird. Anyway, it's an experience. I think it's worth, just don't try to figure it out. It's just weird and wonderful. Something less weird and less Wes Anderson. Dear Evan Hansen is a musical and movie. I'm not sure if it was a play / musical first, then a movie, then back on Broadway, or if it was underground Broadway, got really popular, let's make a movie out of it. Don't know. But oh my goodness. I wept on an airplane in front of flight attendants. It was so wonderful, and I enjoyed every minute of it. The music is wonderful. Go check out Dear Evan Hansen if you like musicals. And I have to say, Ben Platt, is it Ben Platt?
Yeah, he's our buddy from Pitch Perfect.
Our buddy from Pitch Perfect. His singing voice is wonderful, and he's the main character, Evan Hansen. Amy Adams is in it. A few other folks that you would recognize. The plot is interesting. It's not all fun and games. There's some difficult and some heavy themes. It's a little sad, but there's still some fun dance numbers and good singing, and I really enjoyed it. Finally, in the stand-up comedy world, Neal Brennan's special Crazy Good on Netflix. Neal, if you don't know, was a co-creator of Chappelle Show. Him and Dave Chappelle are like best buds. He's an amazing writer, and a really solid stand-up. I think it's one of his best. Crazy Good. I think it's one of his best. I just sat there watching, and I was laughing, but I found myself smiling at how well the jokes were written, because I was just sitting there going, you clever dog. That I see what you did. I was smiling out of enjoyment of how well he had put this all together. It didn't feel like the typical setup, punchline, setup, punchline, setup, punchline. And if you've watched his last couple specials, I mean, he gets very personal about his mental health. Blocks was a big one for that. But man, I think he's on the top of his game. So if you're a stand-up comedy fan, there's some language, obviously. It's stand-up comedy. But go check out Neal Brennan, Crazy Good, streaming now on Netflix. That's all I got.
All right, guys. Well, while you all are out there mowing your lawns and building your new sheds, that beard of yours is going to start getting a little funky, which is good. It's a manly thing to funk up your beard by doing some hard manual outdoor yard work. But when you get inside, you need to wash your face. maybe take a shower. Maybe use some beard wash from Artius Man on that beard. When you get out of that shower, take care of the skin underneath. It's not going to be scratchy anymore. But possibly the best part, your beard is going to look better. And your lady friend is going to get one whiff of your beard and say, it still smells manly, but it doesn't smell bad. I think I like it. Head over to artiusman.com. That's artiusman.com. Fill up your cart with their beard oils, their shampoos and conditioners and body washes and brushes and all of the like. If it's your first order, you're going to get 25% off, and I'm going to tell you how. When you're checking out, in the little discount box, you type in the middle, and there it is. And so if you do that, you're going to save some money. We're going to get a little bit of a thank you from Artius Man. Artius Man is going to appreciate your business. All of us win. Head on over to Artius Man and treat yourself.
And don't forget, after you do that, take a picture of your garage and post it to our Facebook group. That's Facebook group From the Middle for the Middlers. We would love to see photos of your garage. Cover up your license plates if you're worried about things like that. But send us your garage photos. We want to see what your garage looks like. All right. See y'all next week. Bye.
See ya.
Hey.